what if I'm not cut out for this? What if this is just a dream? What if I should have stayed in the Marine Corps? What if I should have just stayed in aviation? I just really started getting in my own head. Hello, beautiful people. It is me, RMarie. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. I hope you stay a while. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. In today's video, we will be talking about how I came to be in the Marine Corps for 11 years, working in the aviation industry, and now transitioning into a career in nursing. So let's get into it. So in order to tell this story, we need to go way back into time. 2009. Ooh, that rhymed. Oh my God. Anywho, so 2009, I was 17 years old and I made the decision to join the military. I chose the Marine Corps because obviously the Air Force recruiter was never there. The Army recruiter was giving mad shiesty car salesman vibes, and we just not even gonna talk about the Navy recruiter, okay? I brought this information to my mom, and I really needed her to sign this waiver, so I needed her to be okay with it, and she wasn't. Like, she was like, no, you're not going. You know, you're gonna be on the front line, you're gonna see combat. Like, I can't deal with that. She was very apprehensive, and it definitely took her some convincing. Eventually, you know, between talking to some of my family members, talking to my recruiter, and also my stepdad, who was an Army veteran, she eventually agreed to sign the waiver to get me to ship to boot camp while I was 17. There were some factors that were surrounding this decision for me to join the Marine Corps. I wasn't living in Detroit at the time. I moved to Lake Orion, which is a suburb. It's really the boonies, but it's a suburb outside of Detroit, like 45 minutes to an hour outside of Detroit. But I had a car. So whenever I could, I was going down to Detroit, getting into stuff. I wasn't doing anything so crazy, but the people around me were, and I really just didn't want to get caught up, you know? Also, at that time, me and my mom, we didn't have like the greatest relationship. We were always butting heads. She was begging me to like stay at the house. Like, you can go to college down the street, just stay here. Just don't go to the Marine Corps. Don't go to the military. I'm just like, no, like I gotta go. So basically I was trying to get away, you know? And at that time, college was not on my radar. I mean, I got good grades in school, you know? Those last 2 years, man, I was messing around. I wasn't applying myself. I was skipping school. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I was just like, man, if this is what school is like, I don't want no parts of it. But you know, it's different when you go to college versus high school. You are kind of obligated to go to high school. College, I mean, you paid, so you put into it what you get out of it. So I feel like that's more of a motivating factor. Whereas in high school, you just like, man, let me go ahead and get this piece of paper. Anywho, pause. Hey, if you are enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this story, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and give that like button some love. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, back to the story. So made the decision to go to the Marine Corps. I ship off to boot camp. Funny thing, I came back from boot camp after 3 months. It was actually Christmas, and when I went to the recruiting office, who do you think was there? I'll wait. The dang on Air Force recruiter. Where were you 3 months ago? Where were you when I was making this decision? Anywho, I don't regret it. We're done. I'm in the Marine Corps now, right? Those first 5 years in the Marine Corps, normally if you enlist into an MOS that is in the air wing, you typically do 5 years initially. And that is just because schooling is a little bit longer for those that are in the air wing. So they kind of offset it with like your first initial contract would be 5 years. You know, I do my schooling. I check into my first unit and I just basically hit the ground running. I'm trying to learn my job. You know, I'm trying to be a good Marine, and everything, all of my effort is just going into the Marine Corps. I'm not really focusing on the betterment of myself, like as far as like my future goals are concerned. I didn't have a 5-year plan. I didn't have a 10-year plan. I was just taking every day as it was going. And so the problem with this is that after my 5 years, so like I said, I enlisted in 2009. It is around 2013, 2014. That time frame is coming up for me to either re-enlist or get out. And I'm just like, yo, what have I done? Like, I have nothing to show for it. I have been in this organization for 5 years. I have nothing to show for it. What am I going to do? I had a car that wasn't paid off at the time. I had credit card debt. Typically, when you go into a situation, you want to come out of it better, right? I didn't go into the Marine Corps with debt, and I for damn sure wasn't going to leave the Marine Corps in debt. Like, what sense does that make, right? I had to make some tough decisions, and I made the decision to re-enlist for another 4 years. I stayed in the air wing. I just changed platforms to another aircraft. So I was basically doing the same thing, just on a different plane. As soon as I checked into my new unit, once again, hit the ground running. But I made it my goal to focus more on myself in this enlistment and try to set myself up for success. Go to school and, you know, do things like that. So by the time that I get out, I won't run into that same issue. I started a degree in aviation management, and I did that because it made the most sense to me. By the time that I started the degree, it was 2015 or 2016. So by now I have, you know, 5-6 years of experience. And actually, no, I have 7 years of experience. I've been doing this for so long, you know, I'm quite proficient at it, and it just made the most sense to me. Along the way, I just started seeing things that just made me like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay in for this long. When I first enlisted, the goal, the end game was never supposed to be 20 years. It was, like I said, I didn't have a 5-year plan. I didn't have a 10-year plan. I was kind of just taking it day by day and taking them as they go, you know? Then I got pregnant with my beautiful boy, Grayson. And that is kind of what solidified me getting out of the Marine Corps, or my choice to leave the Marine Corps. When I got pregnant, people just started to treat me differently. And I'm not saying this is the case for everybody. This is just my experience. So please do not come for me saying, well, I got pregnant in the military and everything was fine. I'm sure it was for you. In my case, people started to treat me differently. They made me feel small. And I say that because I am in a place where I am respected by my peers. I'm respected by my subordinates. I'm even respected by my superiors. But as soon as I get pregnant, or I get to a place where you can't use me as much, this is where I felt like they started to make me feel small. This is definitely the point where it became clear to me that I don't want to be a part of this organization for 20 years or 15 years or more than what I had to be. I got pregnant in 2017. And actually that next year I was set to get out, and I was going to do it. Like, I was going to get out, turn my back, and that was going to be it. It was actually the commanding officer of the unit at the time. You know, he saw the hard work that I was putting in, and he was like, are you sure you want to get out? Like, we can't lose people like you. You have all this tribal knowledge, you know, you actually care about, you know, the work that you're putting in. Like, is it nothing that I can say? And I was like, no, like I have to do this. At that time, I was at a training squadron, which means that I was non-deployable, and I was pregnant, which also made me non-deployable. So say for instance, I re-enlisted for another full 4 years. When I left that squadron, it was very likely that I would go somewhere where I would have to be deployed. And knowing that information, having a child, I don't think I could do it. No, I know I could not do it. A very close friend of mine, I did 2 deployments with her. And every time she was on the brink of depression because she was away from her children, or her child at the time, just one child. She only had one child at the time. And, you know, we had a close-knit girls group, all of us. And we just made it our business to kind of just stay close to her. Like, yo, like, you got this. Like, you know, 3 more months, 2 more months, you know, we'll be home next week. We had to be her rock because she was feeling it. Like, I remember we were just out in town, just having a good time. The topic of her son was brought up. We were talking about kids, and she just immediately began to be tearful. And I'm just like, I don't know, like, I felt for her, you know? And putting myself in that position, you know, fast forward to 2017, I'm thinking of these things. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be away from my child. I couldn't, you know, watch my child grow up from a computer screen or from a phone, from FaceTime. I couldn't do that. It was on the horizon. Granted, the platform that I moved over to was a very newer aircraft. However, they were building these aircraft and they're setting up these squadrons, and they are projecting times in which they will deploy. And knowing that I'm about to have my son, I didn't want any parts of it. So that, me getting pregnant and how people treated me and just all of these decisions that I had to make, definitely solidified my decision to get out of the Marine Corps. But I didn't get out just yet in 2018. That commanding officer that had talked to me, you know, he spoke to my leadership, and he was just basically like, hey, like, is it anything that we can do for her? Like, let's see what we can do for her. My master gunnery sergeant, he pulled me aside. He was like, hey, I got this this assignment in Fort Worth, Texas. I know your fiance is there. You know, just do an extension, just do, you know, an extra 2 years just to get yourself settled. By the time that I got out, my son was barely going to be 1. And he was like, I think this would just be a good transition for you as far as like getting out. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I will do that. I did that, and I moved to Texas in 2018, stayed in until 2020. And that assignment, it did allow me to, you know, kind of decompress from the squadron world and the hustle and bustle of, you know, everyday life at a normal fighter attack squadron. I worked closely with civilians, but I also worked closely with other military services, Air Force and Navy. And, you know, it was real chill. It was real chill. And it just gave me that time to transition out. If I could have stayed in that assignment for like the rest of my time in the Marine Corps, heck yeah, I would have did 20 years. But that is not, it's just not, it's not practical. That would never happen. As a sergeant, I was actually very lucky to get that assignment. But it got to be that time, and I'm getting out again. That time arose where I have to make a decision. Do I really want to, you know, get out, or do I want to hit this extension again and, you know, stay in the Marine Corps? And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. But now I still don't have a degree. My vehicle was paid off. I had got another vehicle, and that vehicle was paid off. So I wasn't leaving in debt. I was leaving better than, you know, what I came in as. So that was great. But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I, you know, toyed with the fact of, okay, you know, now it is 2020. Like I said, I came in 2009, so that's 11 years. I had 11 years of aviation experience. I could get a job. How it equates in the civilian sector as far as experience versus degree. If you have 8 years of fighter jet experience, that translates to a bachelor's degree. And I was like, 8 years? Shoot, I got 11. I'm good. And I worked over 2 platforms, 2 legacy aircraft and a 5th gen aircraft. I toyed with that in my mind, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, logically, it makes sense. It makes sense for me to get out. I've been doing this for 11 years. I know it. I'm proficient at it. Why not, right? I had a long talk with my husband, and he kind of just was like, you don't like working in aviation. You picked that job. Well, you didn't even pick the job. Dang on recruiter picked the job for you. You got good at it, and that became your normal. But what do you want to do? And I was like, you know what? That's a good question. I was like, I've always wanted to pursue nursing. Even when I was a little kid, and if you watch my introduction video, you would know, like, my grandmother has diabetes, and I took care of her. I was her little nurse. Fun fact, so sometime in between 10th and 11th grade, I actually thought about becoming a medical examiner. We went on a field trip for my human anatomy class, and we got to witness an autopsy. 17 students went on this field trip. Only 3 of us were left standing when the autopsy was done. Now, don't get me wrong, all the cutting and stuff, that's not what I was really excited about. It was like just the human body in general. Like, I know this sounds kind of nerdy, but the human body in general, like when we see, different organs in a textbook, we see like a simplified version of it, and we only see like that specific organ. But when you see it all kind of like packed into the body, and you like, dang, like that's our body, like that's how it works. Like, I don't know, something about that just kind of appealed to me. I wanted to be a medical examiner. I love Law and Order SVU. I wanted to, determine causes of death. I wanted to do all that stuff. Like, that was just a thought that crossed my mind. But I knew for a long time that I wanted to do something in the medical field. I was always kind of intimidated by the schooling. I never kind of toyed with the fact about being like a full-on surgeon or nothing like that, because like I said, the cutting is not what gets me. It's the actual working of a living body, and how it can correct its own deficiencies to a certain extent. Like, I don't know, that stuff interests me. And I just I genuinely like caring for people. I loved caring for my grandmother. Like, I don't know if it was just because she was my grandma or whatever, but I liked it. Whenever she asked me for something, I never said, I mean, I wasn't gonna say no to my grandma, but I never, had an attitude or nothing about it. I made that decision, and I'm like, okay, I want to go to nursing school. Now I'm at a point where, I'm out of the Marine Corps, and he can move. I can definitely move. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we go to Arizona? My sister is there. She wants to be closer to her nephew. And I know, once I start up in nursing school, long clinical hours and things like that, I know you'll be stuck at work. She can kind of be our rock. We can kind of fall back on her when it comes to supporting Grayson or whatever. And he was like, fine, cool. So he applies to this job, and he totally thinks he's not going to get it. And he totally gets it. It's 2020. It is in the middle of a pandemic when we moved out here. By the way, I am in Arizona. When we came out here, the housing market was tough, yo. Like, it was real tough. Like, we put bids on at least 3 houses before we got to this one. And we got outbid. Like, when I say bids, like, we put an offer on it, and then like the next day somebody be like, or the realtor come back to us like, another couple offered 15 over asking. We're like, what? Like, oh, it's not that serious. So we finally found our house. We moved out here. That was June 2020. And from there, I had already been scoping out schools while I was in Texas, because there was a little bit of a gap from the time that I got out to the time that we actually moved here. In that time, I started feeling some real self-sabotaging thoughts, And I'm just like, what if I'm not cut out for this? What if this is just a dream? What if I should have stayed in the Marine Corps? What if I should have just stayed in aviation? I just really started getting in my own head. I just kind of had to put it into perspective, like, you know what? That is just going to be a risk that you are going to have to take. You are going to have to step out on faith and just believe that this is the right decision for you. And now I'm here, and I'm done with my prerequisites. I was officially done with my prerequisites in December, but with the application period, I won't start school until May. Now that I'm here, I 100% fully believe this is where I'm supposed to be. I have no doubt in my mind that this is where I am supposed to be. Sometimes you just, like I said, you just have to step out on faith and believe that when something is for you, it's going to happen. No matter how long it took you to get there, no matter, what hoops and trials and tribulations that you had to go through to get there, if it is for you, it will happen. If you don't take anything away from my experience and what I went through, listen to this. Do what feels right to you. It doesn't have to feel right to anyone else. It doesn't have to, be glamorous. It doesn't have to be, the highest paying thing. Whatever it is that makes you feel like you're doing what is best for you, do it. Do it. Because when I'm telling you, I almost dropped my classes in August 2020 because I was so far in my head. And you have to remember, I'm transitioning from the Marine Corps into a civilian. People joke about it, but that transition is not easy. So I'm dealing with that, and I'm also dealing with me getting into my own head about whether this decision, this life decision, is the right thing for me. I'm just here to say, hey, if it feels right to you, do it. So you guys, that is the end of my video. I hope you guys enjoyed just getting to know me a little bit more and learning about how I came from being in the military to starting fresh as a nursing student. I'm excited to go on this journey, and I am excited for you guys to go on this journey with me. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you are new here and you made it all the way to the end without subscribing, shame on you. Shame on you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, okay? We get to have more talks like these, all right? And other stuff. A lot of other stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.